In the year 2000, there was this homeless street addict in Vancouver called Bud Osborne, in a very notorious part of Vancouver. It's called the Downtown East Side. It has the highest concentration of addicts in North America, probably the world. And it had a lot of open street use. It was kind of regarded as hell by people in Vancouver. And Bud was living on the streets. He'd had an unbelievably terrible childhood. And he was trying to numb his pain with a lot of heroin. And he was basically watching his friends die all around him. Because they had quite intense police crackdown, people would shoot up behind bins or behind dumpsters. And obviously, if you're shooting up and you're hiding, and you start to overdose, if you're hidden, no one sees you, and if you get found 2 hours later, that's the difference between living and dying. So lots of people were dying. And Bud thought, I can't just wait and watch my friends die. But he also thought, as he would have put it, I'm a homeless junkie, what am I going to do? And one day he had this really simple idea. He gathered together a group of people with addiction problems, and he said, when we're not using, which is most of the time even for hardcore users, why don't we just draw up a timetable and we'll patrol the alleyways, just us, no like officials, and if we see someone overdosing, we'll call an ambulance. It was a very simple idea. People were very skeptical. There'd been loads of people who'd come along to improve the Downtown East Side, and Bud, but they liked Bud. He was one of them, and so they thought, okay, we'll do it. So they started to do this. And over the next 3 or 4 months, the death toll on the Downtown East Side started to really significantly fall, which was a great thing in itself. It meant people who would have died were living. But it also meant the addicts started to think about themselves a bit differently. They started to say, maybe we're not the pieces of shit everyone says we are. Maybe we can do something. So they started to go, they used to have these meetings on the Downtown East Side about like the menace of the addicts. And they would turn up and sit at the back, and after a while, Bud or someone would pop aside and go, oh, I think you're talking about us.
You're here.
Exactly. Is there anything we could do differently? And sometimes people would be really angry and say, oh, you're disgusting. Sometimes people would say, well, you leave your needles lying around. And Bud said, well, that's fine. If we can get a small budget, we could go and collect the needles. We could extend our patrols. They started to do that. It meant people started to think about the addict